Hi everyone, I'm Christos Katsanos and you are listening to another episode of the Deep Dive interview series in collaboration with Hydroponic Talks and Green Swans podcast. Today feels a bit like coming home for me. My journey with Grodan started back in 1993 when I first introduced hydroponics in a large scale to Greece as head agronomist at Prima Greenhouses in collaboration with Evangelos Drimtsias. Since then, I've worked with Grodan in Greece, the Balkans, Cyprus and Egypt, and I proudly think of myself as a Grodan ambassador. That's why it's such a pleasure to be here at Grodan headquarters in Vermont, sitting across from a leader who has guided this company for more than 20 years. I'm speaking, of course, about Mr. Janssen, CEO of Grodan, who kindly accepted my invitation to join the deep dive interview. Today together we will explore the future of horticulture, touching on hydroponics, artificial intelligence, sustainability, and the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead of growers and for the global food system. Hab, thank you so much for accepting my invitation to this podcast. So, the first question I would like to ask you, because my audience like to know you beyond of CEO of Grodan, about your values, your experience, or personal moments have shaped the way you lead and think about the future of horticulture?
That's a nice question. I think one of the things what I learned is very much discipline, because my father, he studied as a priest. Obviously, he didn't become priest because else I would not be sitting here today. But he studied still his age of 20 as a priest. And he learned me discipline because that was how he was taught. Because he was on a boarding school from the age of 12 years old. They stand up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They had to eat. First they had to go to church. Then they eat porridge, and then the same at noon. The same in the evening. Porridge. The guy never eat porridge in his whole life anymore. But he had an enormous discipline. Because that was how he was taught, how he was raised as a priest. And he brought that over to me and also to my brother, I must say. A second thing what I learned, immediately comes into my mind is I had once a very, very bad trip. I came back and we had to land in Barcelona, and it was nearly a crash. And from that time on, I was very afraid to go into an airplane. I didn't want to fly anymore. I really didn't dare. But what to do? Because I was flying my whole life for the company. What to do then? So I went to a psychologist to take lessons, and he said, one thing what you have to learn is that you cannot trust your feeling. That's very strange, because everyone learns me also be trust on your feeling. Now, he said, your trust. Your feeling can be a very big enemy of you. So what you are going to do from now on, if you have a certain situation and you recognize that situation, please write it down for yourself, how you feel about it, and then afterwards, if the reality comes, and write the reality behind. I came to the conclusion actually that the guy was right. Your feeling, for sure, when it comes to emotions, sometimes leaves you with the wrong answers to the question. So he learned me, hey, don't rely on your fear, because it is the most safe way of traveling over the planet. It's even more safe than jumping in your car. I think that were two important lessons what I learned. Be fact-based. That's also why I try to be as a leader, not getting into emotions of people. I for sure listen to them, I reflect with them, but I try to bring it back to the facts. And I think the third thing, that's what I'm born with. I love to work with people. So I get a very warm feeling from working with people. It gives me actually quite a lot of energy, which I'm also willing to give back and to coach people and that kind of thing. So that are my three main things. Two I learned, and one I think I had with me when I was born.
Wow. I didn't know your story in the beginning, but it's fantastic. I'm taking you now to the greenhouse industry. And when you look at the greenhouse industry, do you see it as part of agriculture, as the people said in the past, or rather as a vital link in the global food chain? Why does that distinction matters to you personally, or means to you personally?
Maybe I don't answer the question directly to you, but I think that whole horticulture industry, or as they call it today, more the covered way of environment, the covered way of growing vegetables and fresh produce and fruits, it is a much more efficient way than what the agriculture does. First of all, I think what you do if you go to a covered greenhouse, you can produce year round. That's very, very important. And you have also higher production. That saves about 75% of the area. So actually that is an area what we can give back to nature. And I think also what we should take into consideration that is really scarce, because 90% of the biomass on this planet we killed already as human beings. I mean, a lot of animals what we had in the past, they are not there anymore. So if we want to save this planet, also it is very important that we give good land back to nature and that we respect that planet. And I think you can do that with horticulture. You are safe on production, because one of the big reasons in China to go into horticulture is not immediately the higher production, but it's safety, security, that you get the food at the end of the day, because now due to climate change, weather conditions, a lot of the crops sometimes they don't make it to the shelf, they don't make it to eat it, because it is destroyed by the weather. So it is not only safety, it's also higher production, and it is more environmental friendly, because also from a water and nutrition perspective you use less if you have, for instance, growing media, but also belongs to a greenhouse that you have a closed environment. Also when you look to biocontrol, almost only possible in a greenhouse, isn't it? So I think it's a different way as agriculture, soil production, open field. This is an industry. This is something which really brings us quite a lot, as I mentioned, safety, security, and environmental friendliness. I think that brings it all to us, and hopefully at the end of the day also at an affordable price.
Critical question: do you believe that we can feed 8 billion people sustainably through the greenhouse sector?
If you would ask me the question 5 years ago, I would say no, but I saw in India for the first time that they were growing hydroponic potatoes. And that made me believe, because you cannot eat from tomatoes, cucumbers, sweet peppers, you will not survive. I mean, you have to eat if you want to really feed the world, I would say, for some parts of this world. Unfortunately, I look to Africa, which is almost, sorry to say, I don't want to be rude or something like that. It's almost a lost continent. You need rice to feed people, to give them the calories, or potatoes in order to feed them. And fortunately that is now also possible in a very high-tech way, even in a greenhouse way. And I think then you are much better off. You save on water, nutrition, all things which are scarce in these kind of areas. And by the way, which is the scarcity of this planet. Because due to the heating up of this planet, much more water goes into the air, it evaporates. It is not available from us anymore. I mean, if you look to the world map, I don't know if you saw that, the world map of availability of water. Nowadays, we have already water scarcity, but in 10 years from now, due to the heating up of the planet, that will be much and much bigger, that problem. And because the water is not anymore available, it is in the air due to the heating up. And that's really an enormous problem, because water, that's basic need for living on this planet.
Thank you about that. Now I'm taking you to your core business. Grodan slabs, blocks and propagation solutions have been trusted by growers for decades. I can confirm that from my side. Beyond the technical benefits, what do you believe is the real impact on growers' lives? and the food with Grodan contribution, not hydroponics in general?
Yeah, hydroponics in general, I think they are clear to you, but I think if you really look to stone wool is nearly inert material. So if you want to steer, now the sun is shining here in this office. Unfortunately, this morning it was clouded. You know, a grower in a greenhouse has to react on such a situation. The plants will react on that situation. You know, then you are very good off with stone wool because it is very reactive, because it is inert. It doesn't buffer water, nutrition, and even actually if the plant has a disease, some diseases you can very much and very well treat to the root zone environment. So I think that's really unique about stone wool. Yeah, we call it very technical, the PF curve, but the suction power for the plant to take something out of stone wool is very, very easy. No matter if there is 20-30% water in the slab or 90%, the plant easily can take it and it's all available for the plant. And that's really unique about stone wool. And due to that, also very steerable, as I said, due to the circumstances in the country from clouded to sun and so on. So if you want to have an optimal yield, optimal use of resources, it is stone wool.
A part of the stone wool, I always say Grodan. Why is that? Because Grodan is stone wool plus people, plus knowledge. On top of that, that's why we have the name Grodan. But I'm taking you from the slabs and blocks and all these idea, because in your era, Grodan has gone far beyond substrates. And I'm talking about offering digital tools like Grow Sense and eGrow and some other in your suite. What excites you most about the future of precision growing, and how do you see these tools changing the relationship between the grower, crop, and the environment?
No, that's actually very easy. You know, we are born with technical advice, as you know. It started actually all with technical advice. I think we had 2 times more technical people on board than that we had salespeople when Grodan started. What I just learned that you started actually 2 years before me, because I only started in 95. But you know what these digital tools means is reach. And reach, I mean, you know, we have a little bit more than 20 crop advisors now at this moment in time worldwide. They can maybe handle 20, 30 growers each. So that's very limited what you can do with it. And there's an enormous scarcity on this planet regarding the knowledge how to grow in greenhouses and how to grow in growing media. So for us, those digital tools is actually that we can handle many more customers. And you know, also another big advantage is that advisor, he comes in today at 4 o'clock and he leaves at 5, and that is his advice from 4 to 5. These tools is 24/7, 365 days per year. So it's day round, year round, and always available, and an enormous reach. You can support every grower, every customer which you have as Grodan. And that's where we want to distinguish ourselves as Grodan. We want to give the customer not only our growing media or slabs or plugs or blocks, but he should be successful with our product. That's where we aim at. And those tools, they make that happen for us. They help us in bringing that message across and how to treat stone wool in the best possible way.
I was a fanatic guy when you introduced such kind of ideas in the Grodan organization. I know that at that period of time there were big concerns about the direction of the company, and I do support what you said. That's why I will insist with one more question on that.
Yeah.
Looking at the industry as a whole, where do you see the biggest gaps in data-driven growing today, as you described earlier? And what role do you feel Grodan must play in helping growers close those gaps? And I'm saying that because you published something about collaboration with Priva, Hoggiton and stuff like that, some experts on this. That's why I sum up this question.
Yeah, let me reiterate a little bit on this one. I think first of all, we made also a mistake in the beginning as Grodan, Because if you really want to go into artificial intelligence, into SaaS solutions as we call it, you have to give part up of yourself, because we thought also in the beginning that we could conquer the world as Grodan with our eGrow, with our Grow Sense solution. No, you cannot. You have to cooperate with others. You are part of the ecosystem. And I think for many companies, suppliers to the industry, they are not yet ready for that. They are still going their own way. So what we now decided for ourselves, we want to be part of the ecosystem. That's very, very important. So we want, together with Priva, with Hogendoen, and all the others over the planet, we want to bring one solution to that grower. Because that solution should not be that the grower looks here to the Priva computer, he has here a monitor from another supplier, here he has also the one from Growsense, from Grodan, and so on and so on. No, you need one integrated solution, and therefore we have to cooperate. And I think that's, first of all, what this industry has to learn. From the side of the customer, I think they maybe underestimate the value what is in this, and they're also the willingness to spend money on this kind of solutions in this industry, I felt, is very, very low. While the cost to bring this to the market, I know that from our eGrow initiative, is very, very expensive. So if this industry really wants to grow to the next level and be better than what they are today, I think they should be more supportive in this kind of solutions, and also spend a little bit more money on it. Because the way forward isn't this. You can really optimize growing methods, oversee problems, foresee them even, with this kind of solutions. And I think that's very, very important, that the industry makes those steps.
One question comes to my mind. When you started such initiative, the AI as ChatGPT didn't exist. 2 years ago, it started changing everything. How you feel about that?
I feel great about it. I use it almost every hour of the day. I'm crazy about it, to be honest. I really love it. You should really try it. You should try it even to answer your mails. I try that sometimes. It's astonishing how good answers that he can give, based on previous experiences and based on previous input what I gave to the system. It's tremendous. Even I put my business plan in it. You should do that. Make a plan for a company, put it in and say, hey, do you have any critical questions for me? Boom, 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 there they're coming. Wow. I said, geez, yeah, I didn't think about this one. Really, I would say fantastic. So also, I think we are just on the beginning, because the more people that are starting to use this, the more people from the industry which are going to use this, technicians, growers, and so on, the better the system will be at the end of the day. We feed it every day. And that the power of this will be enormous. So I'm not looking to the disadvantages that maybe some people get more obsolete in this whole thing. I mean, I looked into my garden. I went in the weekend into my garden. I made a picture of it. I said, make a new design for my garden. Boom, there you go. Beautiful. So, not so good for that designer. Huh? I mean, if you are a designer of a gardens, yeah, then it could be within 5 to 10 years that you are without a job. Sorry for that. That can be. But enjoy it, embrace it. It is change, and it will bring us to the next level, in growing, to the next level of doing business. I'm very enthusiastic about everything regarding Copilot, ChatGPT, you call it, and everything what still has to be invented.
That leads to my next question, because technical support, and I'm not speaking about 2025, I'm speaking about 2030 to 2040. Technical support has always been a cornerstone of Grodan's identity. In the AI era, as you described earlier, do you imagine support becoming more predictive, automated, and remote, or do you believe that will be always an irresponsible human element? The human element will be inside or not? Because you said earlier, sorry, you're a technician, you are out of the business.
No, I'm not saying that the technicians are out of the business. I mean, especially to our industry, 2030, 2040, there will be more automized. But I mean, the eye of the tiger is still that you have an eye on that plant, that you can interpret what happens with that plant. So I think there is still that eye, what you need on that one, the visual look, the touch with it, is still very important in that period. I don't know if that will change in 2050, that we get even more camera systems, etc., etc., etc. But then there will be something new. There will be, I don't believe, you can go 20, 30, 40, 50 years back. I mean, my grandfather, he saw the first bike in the street. Shit, what is that, a bike? Then afterwards they saw the first car. Yeah, that must be the end of the world, isn't it? Then they saw the first plane. Well, they saw the first man on the moon. There is never an end to development, and there will also never be an end to development of the human being. So there will always be a role for us. I don't believe that stops. You understand that it's going in an accumulated speed, we exceeding the speed of what I said from planes, but also the detonation power, unfortunately, of bombs.
True, very true.
And life continues. We are going to the next level. We will grow to the next level. So I don't believe that one day we don't need human anymore on this planet, but also not in our industry. It's the same to me. We'll continue that we need a human hand at another level in a new world. And I'm unfortunately not so smart that I can predict that, but how it would look like, because then I could make some money.
So Grodan now is the leader in the substrates market, but as a leader, always you're thinking about competition. So do you have any thoughts, any ideas, any questions that, any feeling that any disruptive alternative that will come and collapse the business? Because for the 70 years now, stone wool, especially Grodan stone wool, is the leader. But from now on,
there were smarter people than us before in the world. Let me look to Nokia. Who 20, 30 years had not a Nokia? That was the cell phone, isn't it?
Blackberries.
They missed the boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
No smartphone. They didn't make that jump. So where is Nokia today? Kodak. Film cameras. Went to digital. Where's Kodak today? It's gone. So I think you have to be really in this world on your marks. You have to be on your marks and developments and because tomorrow it can happen to you, also to us. So you have to be very, very sharp and not, I would say, not arrogant. Really analyze, look to alternatives all the time. One day it might happen also to us if you are not sharp enough, or if you are arrogant like Nokia. Hey, you should really see the film of, what was it again? Steve Ballmer from Microsoft. He said when those guys from iPhone came on the market, a cell phone for more than 500 euros. Are you crazy? That will never happen. Never. You should see him on stage, how he does about it. Where's Microsoft with his phones? Nowhere. Apple took it all, isn't it? They believed in it, that you could sell even today. I think they cost 1,500 euros. I don't know how much that they cost, but it happened. So you have to be very careful not being arrogant and say, well, that will not happen. No. And that is also for us. Can be organic, can be another alternative artificial growing medium. You never know. So be on your marks, Grodan. But also I would say that comes for every company nowadays.
Okay.
You have to be on your marks.
Probably you don't know that with one of my customers in Greece named Biosolids, we are doing composting. And we're taking all the debris of the greenhouses and stone wool, the Grodan stone wool included. We take out the plastic, of course, and we do composting where we use it in regenerative agriculture. All right, all right. Why is that? Because that company is based on circularity and circular economy, 100%. So I'm going back to my days in Grodan, and I remember about the conversation about what the afterlife of the substrates and stuff like that. Nowadays, the terminology circularity is in everyone's lips today. How is Grodan redefining this life cycle of substrates of my times? And what does true circularity mean to you beyond recycle and reuse?
That's a good question. What does it mean for us? I think it means for us looking from the cradle to the grave to Stonewall. So it starts already with the eco design of the product. And with eco design, I mean Stonewall is made of stone. Mm-hmm. Grodan is made of stone. Stones, no matter where you go on the planet, they will have a different composition. In some places there will be heavy metals in it, even in stones which you find in nature. So you have to look from that part, you have to look to the composition. Next to that, of course, we use a binder. At this moment in time, not biodegradable. We need a biodegradable binder. Mm-hmm. We put a surfactant in it to put up the water, an agent. It has to be 100% biodegradable. So at the end of the day, it starts already with the design of the products, and we are running actually activities on all of them in order to make a really eco-friendly product. Our aim is that you can take up the stone wool after that you use it and put it in nature, and that doesn't harm anything at the end of the day. Because you know that basalt powder is used in agriculture as a nutrition. And it also stores actually components from the rain into carbons and stores them into the soil. So also for CO2 reduction, a good solution. We are now doing trials with a university in the US to see how can we use it in that way, and is our structure fine enough? Because if you look to the basalt where you salt, it is powder, and of course we have a fiber. So in surface it is bigger, so to speak. But we are looking in all kind of alternatives because we have the belief at the end of the day I have to pick that piece of stone wool, throw it into nature, and actually I did something good to it. It improves the structure of the soil, and it takes maybe the carbons from the carbon what we have here more than sufficient in the air and stores it into the soil. And all the additives what we took, they are biodegradable and should dissolve in nature. That's where we are aiming at the end of the day, because that would be the best solution. Because all the other solutions, like what we are doing, a lot goes into the brick industry. Filter elements we are providing also stuff to, but that's all local. You know, these kind of areas, like you see here in Holland, in the Westland, you see it bound with greenhouses. You see in France several areas, the Bretagne and the south of France, you see big areas. That's past. In the future, we will have big greenhouses around the big cities to provide food to those cities, but not so concentrated areas anymore. If you look to new countries where we went, for instance, maybe a wrong example, but in Russia, you see big greenhouses around the big cities. Not anymore spread over, spread very much over the country. China, pretty much the same. And that's the new world. So you cannot work with a recycling solution for one greenhouse. That is too small. So you have to make a product at the end of the day which is going up into nature, which is absorbed by nature as something good, as something okay.
I'm impressed from your explanation. This is fantastic to me. And really, this is the way we have to go there, to collaborate, to cooperate. And I like very much your definition about circularity of Grodan. Now, two more questions about two terms, sustainability and resilience. And I'm confused about that. Sustainable means that we can work in a way that the future generation can be not compromised what we have. But before, we need the resilience. This is my way of thinking. What's your way of thinking about resilience and sustainability?
I don't know exactly what you mean here with the word resilience. Can you explain
We
that?
have to survive first and then to be sustainable. Resilience means it's not about resilient company anymore, it's a resilient sector. Otherwise, we cannot survive. So about the threats now is not about against the company, it's against a whole industry, a whole sector. So the sector has to not to react, but to respond to such kind of pressures. Nowadays, because the political situation is out of any sense, and now the energy crisis comes to our, let's say, to Europe, and then it's about the people. And then I have one question about ESG, that is environment, at the same time about society, and then it is about the governance of the people and the companies. That's why it is a bit complicated.
Maybe I should swear a little bit. Swearing a little bit in the way that that's maybe not good for the industry, but I think we human beings have to learn something, and that we stop to eat off season. What I mean with that is we want to have strawberries in December for Christmas. We want to have strawberries in the summer, of course. We want to have them 365 days per year. That is part where our sustainability or resilience go down the drain. So you have to eat seasonal. I think that's what we have to learn as human beings. We don't want that. We want tomatoes from the 1st of January till the 31st of December. But that is not resilient. Resilient is when you eat it when it is the season for tomatoes. Because in that way you can overcome a lot of problems in sustainability. I think the biggest issue for the greenhouse industry in the part of the world where I'm now, in Holland, and more to the Nordics, is the energy for humidification. They're taking the humid out of the air and of course heating up the greenhouses. Of course in your part of the world that is less because it's warmer. But still the energy what we use is unacceptable. And why do we do that? Because we want to eat it 365 days per year, and that is something what has to stop. And I cannot help that as a human being to eat seasonal. But I think many more people should do that. Mm-hmm. I think that's where it all started. And I think also as a positive thing, that's not swearing in the church, that's to support the industry now a little bit, is if you look to food in general, I think we eat a lot of meat. This planet is soaked by animals which have also to get food. If I look to the area of land what we are using to produce food for cattle, from chicken to cows to pigs to whatever, is a multiplier bigger than what we use for vegetables. While vegetables and potatoes and everything give much more calories.
Yes.
So if the industry has to do well, I think we have to eat less meat, all of us. And that's also resilience for this planet. Mm-hmm. Because eating less meat and eating seasonal, if we would do both, man, that would be fantastic. Because then you're also resilient. Then you are doing a great job. And you still can do that in the greenhouse because of the biological control what you have, the less water, the less nutrition, but only do it seasonal. And I would say to the world, eat less meat. Simply. Less meat, less dairy, and it will happen. Then we have much more room on this planet.
It's simple. Huh? Okay. So Grodan is part of Rockwool Group, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my question is, how do you see Grodan's vision for horticulture and sustainability fitting into the broader Rockwool story on sustainability? I'm saying that because Rockwool now participates in Sail GP Grand Prix, and their sustainability story says we go around the world just to see and how to help about the sustainable solutions. So we have this chance to meet with people, with experts, and of course we have our solutions there. So do you see any connection fitting Grodan's vision to Rockwool's sustainability story?
Yeah, I think they want also to position themselves really as a sustainable company. I mean, the whole electrification from the factories, I mean, is a matter of fact, every year they will take a couple of factories which they are going to electrify. Also, it doesn't stop with electrification, but electrification is only for carbon. But we have also nitrogen, of course, and other emissions what we have in the factory. So we also are going to do the washing of the gases and that kind of stuff in order to really minimize impact on the environment. That's all going to happen in the Rockwool world. So I think that whole sustainability, it's very high on the agenda within Rockwool. I think that is also the way they want to promote and will promote themselves in the outside world, because they are Scandinavian, and in Scandinavia it's much more rigid than what we have here in Holland. They have to be part of the building industry, and the building industry, if you want to build a house or a building in Denmark, you get a number of carbon emissions what you may have to build that building. Yeah, you have to. It's a must, else you will be excluded. They exclude you from the process. Builders in Denmark, architects, if you are not doing that, if you are not in that ball game, if your emissions, your environmental impact, so to speak, is too high, you are out. You have to be among the best.
Even Rockwool is a global organization nowadays. The question goes from sustainability to profitability. And I have one critical question to you, because it's getting complicated. The United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals set a bold global agenda. Which of these resonate more strongly with Grodan mission, and which do you feel the company is best positioned to influence? I'm saying that because from one side we have to survive, and from the other side we have to comply with some of them. But the most important is how to contribute in the United Nations, and I'm sure that Grodan contributes.
Mm-hmm.
So I like your, let's say, point of view on that.
We did a study after this, Christos, somewhere in 2019, 2020 with Wageningen University. We made an examination because we wanted to know exactly. I don't have the report by heart, but if I'm well still informed, it is number 1, 5 and 6. It has mainly to do with water, of course, the use of water, where we can play an important role. Also when it comes not only to the liters what you use, because I mean open field 60 liters approximately for a kilogram of tomatoes. Here in Holland it will be around 11 to 12. If you go to a closed greenhouse, it will even be close to 8 liters, like you see in the Bretagne, but also here in Holland with some projects. So that's one. But of course also the closed systems that growers really work in a closed system and reuse also their water. And I think that's quite easy with stone to do that recycling of water. So I think that water is really where we really play a positive role. Also works very positive for us, because when I look back to our entrance into Canada many years ago, certainly the government decided that it was obligatory for growers that they should not pollute the surface water anymore and bring the water into the creeks and put it over the land. They used a lot of cocoa. You saw such a brown stripe in the nicely white snow. When that stopped, Actually, it was very much before that is a cocoa market. I think 85% was cocoa, and I think we had a market share of about 6-7%. Now it's the opposite, due to that change in regulation. So it's also very positive for us. They see really the connection between that. So that's one. Yeah, then of course it's related to us, but also to the industry. That's anytime, anywhere, we call that. Year round, you can use rocks even to grow on. I mean, in China they make flat surfaces, put growing media on top. So normally surface where you cannot grow on, by the way, 2/3 of China is rock. You cannot grow on because you are not growing into the soil. You don't need good soil in order to do that. So that's also one what we use. And of course the third one is the use of good land, because due to the higher production, the higher yield what you have with using growing media, giving the plant exactly what it needs. It brings immediately 20-25%. Maybe that's also a little bit for organic growing media, but for sure when you use stone wool, you make an enormous jump into that productivity. So less use of good land on the planet. Give it back to nature. That's our third one. And
I like very much what I hear, because it reminds me one, let's say, leaflet I have still in my office in late 90s of Grodan. It was named People, Planet, Profit.
Yeah.
And it started with that guy, the John Elkington. He first sent about this. And then we faced about this greenwashing about the environment. Nowadays, European Union came to a new, let's say, explanation about what sustainability means, and came with the idea of ESG, that is environment, society and governance, but mainly focusing in society, not anymore in environment, and didn't like about the certification and stuff like that. Said, please provide me one report, ESG report about sustainability. And the most important is about your impact. That's why I'm here to ask you about the sustainability, the ESG sustainability, and what is the impact of Grodan on that.
Mm-hmm.
The most important to me impact is how much kilos of fresh food, high quality, is produced with, let's say, one slab. And this is the most important, and the contribution. It's not just only about the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals that you do something about that, but your impact is critical. And the next one, it is about the environment, the people, they work in the greenhouse. Due to the stone wool, due to the idea of everything must be clean inside, the people, they have better, let's say, environment. Exactly like the offices I see today here in Grodan. So I have one more question about you. Across the industry, there is growing concern about the decline in young people entering agronomy and greenhouse careers. From your vantage point, why is this happening? And can we change that?
That's a good point what you make, and that's true. There is less
attractive.
Yeah. Less people which are going also to universities which follow the green studies, so to speak. So that's really, I would say, it's a threat for the industry, because you need those people on board to make things happen, to develop the business. And I believe the situation here, especially when you look here to Holland, is extremely bad. I mean, there's a lot of foreign students, but if you look to the real, the Dutch people is very, very low. We have a lot of people coming from China to study here, and also from other countries, but still, I would say the number of students is low. And how come? Yeah, maybe not sexy enough. And why not sexy enough? I see that here also, by the way, in the factory. People want to have a nice shirt on, like you and me, and like the ladies, and they want to have a nice pen in their hands. You know, they need a nice, clean job, and obviously we are not associated with that. You know, IT is very sexy, because if we look for people in like eGrow and Grow Sense, I'm looking for IT people, you cannot find them on the planet. They have all a job, highly paid jobs, that is prestigious, it's fast, it's furious. But you know, yeah, how to change that? That is really that's really.
It's a big discussion. That's why I'm saying when you discuss with the rest of the players of the sector, we have to start thinking about stuff, speaking about. So it's not easy, because when we say about attractiveness, so it's not about facts and figures anymore. It's how to attract them.
Yeah, but I think also part-wise it is also that what we called it before, embracing of new technologies, embracing of IT, SaaS solutions, artificial intelligence, of said, keep it out of the door, I'm not willing to pay for that, I don't know if that brings me enough money. You know, by adapting to that, by embracing it, it might attract more young people. So I think also very much, innovation, renewal, that will attract people.
Is that the same?
Make it more sexy.
Yeah. Is that the same with the young growers, or not? Or we're not speaking anymore about growers, but investors?
I think there's here in Holland for sure a tendency that we see more and more investors coming into the market. Of course, they are still able to hire people for the jobs, but when I look to young growers, often young growers are still people, youngsters coming from growers, sons, sometimes daughters, from families which were always in the greenhouse industry. And what we had completely, I would say, about that started already many years ago, is also a lot of people from Eastern Europe, which came here into, for instance, the Dutch industry to run it. If I go, for instance, to Canada, there you see a lot of people coming from either from Holland, which came there and made the jump to Canada in order to start greenhouses there. You see that also, by the way, in the US. If you go to Mexico, you see also British growers popping up and that kind of stuff. So you see actually, quite some movement in that people from other cultures take over in this industry, and the guy with the green fingers, the father to son grower. I mean, when I came here within Grodan, the average grower in Holland was half a hectare. If I look now to the average grower, he is 10 hectares, so 20 times bigger.
Mm-hmm.
The area was growing a little bit, but you can still say there was an enormous shakeout of the number of growers what you have. And now they're running sections of sometimes 20, 30 hectares each and every production manager. So the number of people really having green fingers, I think, decreased enormously.
Okay, I have one critical question to you. You know that we are with Angeliki here to participate in the International Propagation Seminar powered by Grodan. So, Grodan has been supporting initiatives like IPS, as I described, and the Green Expert Platform. I have participated so many times. In your view, how do these platforms help shape the future of the industry and probably attract young talent?
No, I think first of all, knowledge exchange. I think knowledge is the driver for our business and for many businesses, by the way, not only ours. So I think that knowledge exchange is a very important one. And of course, collaboration worldwide, that you make relations, build a network of people. That's also why we always supported this, to have that network, to have that cooperation with everyone around the world. That's very beneficial if you do international business. And I would say, how can that attract other people? I think then we have to do something extra. We are working now, for instance, on an internal network. All the knowledge we are going to put in AI, you don't believe it or not, in ChatGPT, all the investigations, the research, you can ask questions to it, he gives you nice answers, he takes even external information, knowledge into these answers. That's what we are now doing internally, but of course, later on also you want to do that externally, you want to turn that around. Now we want first to see how does it work, does it bring enough value, are all people satisfied with about the answers what they get from that system. But if you say, hey, well, this is okay, this works, of course, then you can even build also that network, not only 2 times per year, I guess, but then also you can do that 365 days per year, 24/7. And language, as you can see with AI, no problem. You can put your question in Greek, you can do it in Dutch, I can do it in my local language, and it gives me even answer.
Hope, is there any possibility to see the next 5 years the Grodan University?
That would be nice. I'm going, by the way, you can talk with Andrew if you see him. I'm looking for a learning and development manager again. So I'm really going to spend more time on education, really. It's very, very much needed. Also because what we said before, the educations, they are drying up. So I have to do something to educate the people. And I don't want to hire the local car salesman to sell growing media to a grower. We don't want to go in that direction. So you have to do something on education, and that's a learning and development function on that really technical knowledge is really not overdone. Really not overdone. I think actually this is one of our biggest challenges as Grodan.
Time flies, so my last question. Finally, if you are speaking directly to a 22 years old agronomist or younger grower today, what would you be your personal advice about the future of food technology and sustainability?
Yeah, I would first invite them to Grodan, of course, to get them acquainted. I think we're doing really nice things with GrowSense, with eGrow. I think there are very little people which are not enthusiastic about it. And I think you mentioned already another thing, very, 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 very important, especially if you want to attract ladies, is impact. Show the idealism of the industry. It is something idealistic. You work on food, essential to survive on this planet, to be honest. Security of the food, that it is there, and to do it in an efficient way. If you can explain it to people, they get enthusiastic. I had several applications that I talk with people. If I talk about the impact, the idealistic thought about Grodan, they are with me.
I do believe that this podcast is in this direction. Anything else to share with us and our audience? Otherwise, we have to finalize somehow.
I think I had a lot, but what is to share more? Maybe a last jump into what I really would aim for, which would make also our industry much stronger and also solve the discussion with organic, biological, is to stop with pesticides and produce pesticide free. That might lead to more costs on scouting, might lead more and more costs for biocontrol, yes, but it would solve an enormous discussion and would boost the industry. and would be good for this planet. That's the last thing what I missed maybe in the discussion.
Hub, thank you for sharing your insights and vision with us today. Our conversation has highlighted not only the challenges but also the incredible opportunities ahead for horticulture, hydroponics and sustainable food system. To our listeners, I hope this dialogue inspires you as much as it inspires me. This has been another episode of Deep Dive interview series in collaboration with Hydroponic Talks at Green Swans podcast. Till next time, keep cultivating ideas, innovation and a more sustainable future.